In order for growth to take place, a different approach has to happen. They don't fully understand the messages that Bruce was trying to bring. He was trying to show that there should be no styles, there is no uniform, there's only freedom.
Just a quick interruption for the video, guys. As many of you know, we are independent creators and filmmakers, but there is a massive attack on us right now. Traditional media over the last few years has started to slowly die. They are no longer the independent voice that you first thought they were. That's why we've created Mulligan Brothers Patreon. We've built something special for our most dedicated supporters, and I want to break it down for you real quick. The supporter tier gets you ad-free early access to both video and audio versions of Mulligan Brothers interviews 24 hours before it goes public. The executive tier gets you everything that a supporter tier gets, plus more. Exclusive interviews and behind the scenes content, walk and talks, daily routines, unreleased interviews, the stuff that you don't see anywhere else. And finally, the executive producer tier. Everything from the supporter tier and the executive tier, plus exclusive perks. Access to our treatment packages. Be the first to see which guests are coming up and get insight into the topics we'll be discussing before anyone else. And you'll even get an executive producer credit on every single documentary that we make. So if you've ever wanted to support the Mulligan Brothers mission of inspiring change so we can go around the world and get these stories that nobody else will, this is exactly how you do it. Go to patreon.com/Mulligan Brothers or click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Join the community and help us inspire change. Let's dive back into the video.
What is so interesting about Bruce Lee and his concepts and ideas, and this is something greatly unknown or misunderstood by the masses, is Bruce Lee did not speak Chinese. He didn't speak Chinese. He spoke Cantonese and he spoke very good English, and all of his interviews, everything that made Bruce famous was in English. So his interviews about be formless, shapeless, like water. All of those quotes, you know, don't concentrate on the finger or you'll miss all the heavenly glory. All of that was in English. One of the most powerful statements he spoke about was styles, and don't quote me word for word, but something along the lines of styles tend to separate man, putting boundaries in place where none should exist, because these concepts and ideas become the doctrines, the biblical truth. And he said that shouldn't be the case, which is why he invented and moved away from Wing Chun, and he invented the idea of Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist. But all of his interviews and everything that made him great was in English. It has loosely, in most cases, not even been translated properly into Chinese. So although in China, Bruce Lee is as iconic as he is here, if not more, he is the legendary Li Shaolin in China. But people in China don't even know the message he was trying to bring. And the message is not my message necessarily, but it's very similar. He dealt with a lot of discrimination. He dealt with a lot of stereotypes. He was trying to fight and provoke question within that area, not just as a Chinese man, but within martial arts. And that's where he said, you know, to have no style, to truly and honestly express yourself. So for me, with the situation I just showed you, I'll show you again for the camera, the video. In that moment in Enter the Dragon, he was just showing that a dictatorship does not need to be followed. And the only way to truly be free is through self-expression. And it was these concepts and ideas that I learned from him, from watching his movies, from studying his books, which again, all in English, which I then take into my heart and have applied into my life. But a lot of the people, and in this circumstance, we're talking about another great master. In fact, this guy calls himself Grandmaster Yanzi. And I've got no beef with him either, but it's certain, just because I don't have beef doesn't mean I agree with everything these people do. And during this ceremony in China, it mimicked the Enter the Dragon scene. I was there, it was 40 degrees, so I had shades on. I've got eye condition at the moment, CSR, I have like liquid in my eye. So I was advised to wear shades. I had my Master Roshi shades on, cooking out there in a Buddhist ceremony. So I had my hat on to cover my head. And he came running at me saying, you need to be in uniform, and pulled my hat off my head. And I just laughed. I took my hat back, and then momentarily I put my hat back on. And I just felt like this is a scene out of a movie that was written 50 years ago. This is the exact sort of thing that Bruce was trying to fight. He was trying to show that there should be no styles, there is no uniform, there's only freedom. But we are still seeing, especially in the Chinese community with the Chinese masters, we are still seeing this dictatorship. At the same time, simultaneously, them having a great love for Bruce Lee, not realizing that they don't fully understand the messages that Bruce was trying to bring, which is like a lot of modern ideas. It's about compassion, it's about diversity, it's about expression. And yeah, so let me go ahead and just show you the video because it's quite entertaining. It's very short. It's a remake. Sorry, let's run that one more time. It's a remake of the Enter the Dragon scene. If you know it, you'll enjoy it. So, minding my own business, doing my kung fu. And it's a metaphor.
You must attend the morning ritual in uniform.
That's literally what was said to me. And then there's me in my Goku orange robes, with my sunglasses on, with a cap on, and with a big smile on my face. Because for me, again, Kung Fu brings me happiness. I'm not there to dress up as a monk. I don't know what half these people are doing, just dressing up as a monk. They're not monks. They're dressing up as a monk. They look kind of confused. Again, a lot of the peers, my peers at this ceremony, don't speak Chinese. So for hours, they have no idea what's going on. And they're just there, probably judging me. And I'm just wondering what is going on, because I'm sure at the very beginning of their journey, just like me when they were young, they fell in love with Kung Fu because of people like Bruce Lee, because of Jackie Chan movies, because of The Wheel of Life. So I'm not sure where this resentment comes from. I'm not sure if it's envy. I'm not sure what it is, but it doesn't need to stop. Necessarily, not for me anyway, I don't really care. But in order for growth to take place, a different approach has to happen. And I'm not saying that I'm the one to initiate that change, but I will definitely play a role in being part of the change, because change is the only thing that never changes, right? The only fact that never changes is the fact that everything changes, and change is necessary and growth is necessary. Yes, in the West, and yes, in China, and yes, within the Shaolin community. So in the words of Buzz Lightyear, to infinity and beyond.
Would it be seen as disrespectful by the abbot not to wear the robes, or does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, a question about, dress, attire, and is it respectful, is it disrespectful to wear different types of clothes? Well, first and foremost, to answer your question from a wider perspective, of course it's disrespectful. But then we would need to ensure that everything was biblical in that sense, and that these structures had been in place since the beginning of time, because then we're breaking legacy. But these rules and regulations, like most rules and regulations, are merely new concepts, which even if you just look back 20 years, you will see completely different dress code in the Shaolin, in the documentaries. So this concept of I am right, you need to do this, is merely what we see in modern schools. It's a dictatorship. It's abusing of power, because every individual likes to have a sense of power. And remember, nothing is given, everything is earned. And most people in the position of power who abuse their power is because they have not earned it. Instead, it's been given to them. So one, they don't know how to use it. And two, they're so excited to have it. That's why they abuse it. So yes, in theory, following the tradition is important if the tradition exists. But through the proof of looking back in history, we can clearly see lots of change. Bruce Lee, again, being one of them. Bruce Lee really did his utmost to tie in a lot of these, to tie in with his movies and break through a lot of the stereotypes. So again, Enter the Dragon, at the very beginning, he fights Sammo Hung. Lots of people don't know it's Sammo Hung. He's not so fat in that movie. He fights him with the MMA style gloves. And then when he's finished, he has his lesson with the Shaolin master, who is wearing the abbot robes and has a hat, has hair, has a beard. And Bruce Lee is simply wearing his kung fu garms. And the abbot says to him, I mean, this is very compelling for this question. He says to him, what is the highest technique you hope to achieve? And Bruce answers, to have no technique. He says, very good. And then the second question is, what are your thoughts when facing an opponent? And Bruce says, there is no opponent. And then he responds, and why is that? And then Bruce finalizes with, because the word I does not exist. So it was, if you understand what I just said there and you watch it back in the movie, it's completely about self-expression and understanding that there is no I. And that goes for both me and the others, realizing that over time, everything's going to change. And who I am as an individual, I should be, as with everyone else, free to express themselves to the best of their ability in any moment in time, and not have the sense of dictatorship or weight on the shoulders of others based on what is called tradition, biblical truth, the doctrines. Because, as the statement I just said, style tends to separate man. So that statement, which you can quote me on, I know word for word, that's the statement from Bruce Lee. Style tends to separate man. Well, there you go. You know, even me going to the Shaolin monastery and in a moment of not wearing what apparently to one individual wasn't considered the right attire, style separated man. And this should not be about separating man, but instead bringing man together to facilitate growth of us all. Because only through that mechanism can we truly elevate to the next level. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck. We're going to be stuck following traditions which do not accord with modern life. And that is not progress. That is not growth. So another one to finish up with, in the words of Goku, to go even further beyond. And if you've seen Dragon Ball, Goku is the most free guy. He's chilled, he's always wearing his training clothes, he eats a lot, he's goofy, he's having fun, he trains with all the best teachers. He is not a strict, disciplined guy dictating to people, even his own son. He brings out the best in Gohan through methods that I feel, once you watch and understand, we all need to embody, both as parents, as teachers, as role models to other people within our communities, within our industries. Dictatorship is not the way for growth. Instead, facilitating a safe and healthy space for everyone to feel encouraged to grow. You know, there's a word called neoliberalism, which is where you merely become an object of the society you live in. And that's very common. That is what we are battling, to not merely be yet another number in society, but be a meaningful individual. And the only way to truly achieve this is to express yourself to the best of your ability at any moment in time.